Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Jay Stevens Podcast. This is episode number 72, dedicated to the 1972 winner of the Women's French Open, Wimbledon Championships, and U.S. Open as well, Miss Billie Jean King. And as always, thank you for listening and downloading to another episode of the podcast. On today's episode, we have Mr. Darin Granger, former basketball player at the University of Evansville, coming on to talk about his playing days at the University of Evansville. Darin and I went to high school together, middle school together, played his high school basketball at Lawrence Central High School in Indianapolis, Indiana. His rival while he was in high school, all 4 years, these are two names that you will definitely recognize, Greg Oden and Mike Conley. Imagine going up against them as your rival every single year you are playing your high school basketball. Trust me, that was a matchup you were looking forward to because it was your rival, but you ultimately knew what the outcome was going to be every time you played. Now, Darin played at high school basketball at LC, as we call it, then also went down to Evansville. One of the most oddest names for a nickname for any type of sports team, the Purple Aces. Now, if you're thinking, I've heard of that team, I've heard of that school, why were they in the news recently this season? Well, the Purple Aces beat the Wildcats of Kentucky down in Lexington in the beginning of the season, and they kind of steamrolled and started the number one team in the AP poll, getting upset this season. Now, I want to say that was the first upset. I believe in the very beginning of the opening day games for college basketball. I think whatever classic it is that starts the season off, I'm pretty sure the number one team lost that day as well. But that was 1 versus 3, I believe, 2 versus 4 that day. That was, if you lose to number 3 first game of the season, yeah, that's bad, but it's a whole lot different than when a team from Indiana that doesn't like the state of Kentucky, and it's not IU or Purdue or even Notre Dame, it's the University of Evansville, goes down to Lexington where they have no shot. They should not be on the court with Kentucky, but they upset them. So trust me, us from Indiana, we love that moment. We watched no Evansville games, but when Evansville topped Kentucky, we were right there at our couch or at the bar, wherever you're watching a game, cheering and rooting like you were a diehard fan of that particular university. Well, Darin talks about his playing days at Evansville. And we also get to talking about some of the issues the Indiana University basketball program has had since Bob Knight was fired as being their head basketball coach. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a trip to Fishers, Indiana to enjoy a fun conversation with Mr. Darin Granger. Hey, Darin, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Yeah, no problem. I'm going to take a page from the Knuckleheads podcast. Who was the first person to embarrass you on the court?
Wow. The first person? I would say it was my, junior year of actually high school playing LN, and we're on a fast break, and I was the only man back on our team. Mm-hmm. And I was coming back, and I forget who it was on LN. They threw an alley-oop, and Greg Oden was behind me. I didn't see him behind me at all. So I tried to jump up and knock the ball out of the air, and he caught it and just dunked on me. And I fell to the ground. The crowd was going crazy, and it's pretty embarrassing.
Was that at LN that year?
Yeah, it was my junior, so it was there. Yeah.
Oh man, dude, their crowd's there. No matter if it was us playing them or if they were just a regular LN game, and those crowds were always crazy.
No, they were packed to the house. Those 4 years I was there always.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane, man. I was hoping you didn't say John Ashworth. I probably would have made fun of you for that if you said his name.
No, I'll leave that for the younger guys at LC.
You play college ball at Evansville. Arch Madness, their conference tournament, is actually coming up this weekend in St. Louis. The college athlete, student athlete, the day-to-day, I would say operation, but the things you do every day, your daily schedule, does TV depict that very well? Because I didn't play college sports at all on any level. I didn't play anything, so I don't know firsthand what you experienced being a student athlete. Does TV depict your typical day properly, or is it a whole lot different than what we see on TV?
Yeah, so I'll tell you right now, that commercial they had out with NCAA being a Division I athlete is completely wrong. I'll just start with that. So I'll give you just the day that I had for just most days. So we would have breakfast, I want to say 7 a.m., and then I would have class from I had 2 classes in the morning, 8 and 9, and then we would have either film in the morning or have individual workouts, and then I would have lunch, and then back to class for a little bit, and then we would have practice. After practice, we would have a mandatory team dinner, and then by that time, it's about 9 p.m. So we're going home by then.
Every day?
Yes, that's Monday through. Or it depends on if we have an away game, we'll leave on Friday for a Saturday game, but that's a Monday to Thursday type of thing. So it's honestly from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m.
What? Yeah, that commercial was horrible. That commercial was not, because it made it seem like, now I knew it was wrong. I didn't know how off it was, but it made it seem like your day was a whole lot easier than your student athlete, either on Twitter, Instagram, or people getting on ESPN talking. They made it seem like it was way easier than what you're saying and what so many other people have said as well.
No, I'm telling you, it was a job. I know. I mean, we had fun for sure, but it definitely was a grind. Whether that was practice, whether that was study tables, weights. I mean, we were doing something almost constantly.
Oh my goodness, man! I really wish they would have put that commercial together a whole lot better than they did, because it's not accurate, and it just made them look like the good guy when everyone, like you saying, people know that being a student athlete is way more difficult than what people say. I went back and looked at some of your stats from almost. I won't go over all of them, but I think it was your sophomore year. You ended up averaging 8 points a game. But the funny thing is, no season at all did you have at least, did you at least average 1 assist? I mean, you not passing, people get on Kobe, but I mean, if shooters shoot, score, that's just what you do. Did your coach ever get on you for not passing the ball?
I mean, a little bit, but see, in college, I was more of a wing player, not really a backcourt player. I know I was only 6'1", but I played more on the wing.
Okay.
So honestly, I was coming off downstreams, popping off for threes most of the time. I was playing 20 minutes or so a game, so I wasn't playing, crazy minutes, something like that. But I mean, he would say, you can, drive a little more if you can. But most times I was just a scorer. And that was my main objective on the court and what I was good at as well.
Okay. What are some memories you have from playing basketball in college? Home games, away games, right? If it was the couple years you played there in the tournament, what were some memories you have from just being a college athlete?
I would say the best memory I had was playing at North Carolina my junior year. That's the year they had Ty Lawson, Hansborough, Denny Green, Wayne Ellington. We played there. We got beat by 30, but it was a great atmosphere. The crowd was full. They were hyped the entire game, which is pretty funny, playing us. That was probably my best experience. And then we played Western Kentucky, too, that same year at home when they were ranked. And we had a packed house, beat them by 20, I'm pretty sure. That was a crazy atmosphere, that game in Evansville. Those are probably my top two memories for sure I had there.
Okay, elaborate a little bit more on playing in Chapel Hill, because we watch it on TV. You mentioned Ty Lawson, Tyler Hansborough, Danny Green. I'm thinking, my goodness, this is that wasn't the year they won the title, was it?
Yeah, well, it was that same year.
Oh, okay. But you say all those names. Elaborate more on that game and what it was like going from playing in the Missouri Valley to playing at ACC and actually playing a team that won the title that year that you played them.
Just the speed, man, was the biggest thing I think like Darin, Ty Lawson. Like, you think he's fast on TV? Like, he's seriously a blur in person. Like, it's unbelievable how fast he is with the ball. And then just Hansborough, his size was crazy, how big he was and how much of a motor he had in college. Denny Green was a really good defender. He could shoot as well. And just see Roy Williams on the sideline was a pretty cool thing, just playing him there. And just the crowd, it was nuts. So the entire 4 minutes of the game was just, they were up on their feet the whole time, screaming, yelling. We were down, I'd say 10 at halftime, but they come up in a little bit second half. But just the crowd was just wild the entire 40 minutes.
Okay. How did you play that game?
I didn't actually play that much my junior year, I won't get into it too much, but coach's reasons. I think I had like 6 points. I think I played in the very end of the game, scored 2 threes real quick, but I didn't get too many important minutes that game.
Okay. We'll get away from that. Arch Madness as a mid-major program, Evansville, Missouri Valley, you're going to get overlooked by literally all the big schools. If you like going into your conference tournament, you have schools like, let's say Michigan State or North Carolina. You just mentioned them, or Duke. They know they're going to the tournament every single year. And so mid-major programs, they view the conference tournament a whole lot different than the big dogs do. It's just the nature of the beast. They have better talent. Their schedule's harder than yours, and they're on TV all the time. And everybody expects, hey, this coach or Roy Williams, or Coach K, Izzo, Sean Miller at Arizona, we expect certain people to be in the tournament. Now, transferring that, like I mentioned, with a mid-major. What was your coach preaching to you going into Arch Madness when you were there with the squad? Because I guarantee it's probably similar for you and I. Probably similar to a sectionals, to a team that maybe has 5 or 6 wins, not expected to do anything. It's probably that same type of mindset going into that. What did your coach preach to you guys going into those tournaments?
Yeah, I mean, the main thing, it's kind of cliche, but, our coach was always, I think, at one game at a time. You can't win the tournament without winning the first game. Just playing the moment, do what we do the whole year. But, I mean, we played in the first round my freshman year and my sophomore year. And then my junior year, we finally played in the second round and got beat by Illinois State. But I didn't get past that Friday, so I was home before the semifinals every year that I was there. That's one thing that I wish I got back, was being the semifinals and championship for that day, which would have been, very exciting for our team and the program as well.
Evansville, this made me bring up memories. I think it was you guys versus Drake in 2007. Overtime game, I think with the final score 101-96. I could tell by I could tell you already have some memories now. I didn't really go back to see like all the ins and outs. I couldn't really find how ESPN.com now has GameCast, where they're going score by score, every single score of the game. But thinking a 5-point game going into overtime, your team, how you're viewed. It was an 8-9 matchup that year in that tournament. What was that like? Because I guarantee it, sectionals for us is everything, and especially LC back then. We didn't really do much in basketball, so if you get in sectionals, you have to lay it all on the line. The middle of the second half, going into the last minutes of the second half, last minutes of regulation, what was the atmosphere like? What was going through your mind? What was there anxiety? What was going on at that moment?
Yeah, that was my freshman year. I mean, that game was honestly just back to back of the shots being made. Like, it was crazy. We had a very senior-led team that year, but we were making shots. They were making shots back and forth the entire game. I thought we were going to win, though. I played a little bit that game, so like 10 minutes, I'm pretty sure. But atmosphere was Arch Madness. If you haven't been this, you need to go. Like the setup is great, the arena is great there. St. Louis is a unbelievable town to have a tournament. But that game was an awesome game, though, especially going to OT. We lost by 5, but it was a great game.
I actually had the privilege to go out to Arch Madness. It was a Loyola Chicago year. I didn't get to go. Yeah, I didn't get to go do the first couple of rounds. I got to go that Sunday to the championship. So all of I even forget who they played the championship game. All I know, it was in St. Louis. They won the game, and Kevin Harlan called it. That's all I could tell you as far as like people and stuff like that. I didn't know about Sister Mary. I didn't know anything about their squad. I was just going there to watch a good game. I had heard about Arch Madness. I had heard about how exciting it is, how live the crowd is. The crowd wasn't sold out at all, but it didn't matter. No matter what team you're rooting for, if you had a neutral interest like myself, people just got excited, man. And it just it just reminds me about how college basketball is special. This time of year, it doesn't matter if you're a mid-major. It doesn't matter if you're a high-level D1 athlete. It doesn't matter if you're D2 or D3. There's college basketball tournaments going on all over the place right now. And this time of year, the excitement, not just Arch Madness, but going on through the rest of the month, dude, the excitement that we see and that we kind of watch and experience is fun. And that's what makes college basketball, to me, is that much more enjoyable than the NBA. Yeah, the talent's better than in the NBA. But, man, just the excitement there makes that tournament very, very special. And I do remember, you probably have stories about this. I was sitting near some college, I think some Loyola Chicago fans at the time. And they weren't like rowdy. Like you think of an LCLN game for us, it's a different level of excitement, different level of type of fan nature. You're getting overly overjoyed, or you're yelling at the ref because of things are going on. But I remember seeing those kids, and when Loyola Chicago won the game, it was like, man, they felt like they were a part of the team. They felt like they were actually out there on the court. And I was like, man, this is crazy, but that's just what college basketball does. And I'm sure you experienced that all the time when you were playing.
Yeah, Evansville is a really cool town, a big sports town, but just the mid-majors, I mean, the tournament is everything for us. If you win that, you're going to the tournament. You're playing March Madness. You're playing on TNT. You're getting analysts by Charles and Kenny and Clark Kellogg and all them. Like, it's everything for us. I know I could see in their face that when they won that game how happy they were, the town was, and just Missouri Valley as a whole.
Yeah, man, it's my goal is to try and get out there again. I don't know if my schedule doesn't allow me this year to go. We might skip my plan. Yeah, we got Big Ten and Indy. We got stuff here in Indianapolis we can go to all the time. But getting out to see something different and a different level of excitement, different type of still a fan, but it's a different level of fan because my favorite basketball team is North Carolina. I don't talk about them much right now because there's nothing really to talk about. Let's not get on that subject. But the mid majors, man, we see the jubilation. We see Wichita State's when they reminded us that they are a good program. We saw how excited they are, but then we see all of these different programs, and it's like, oh, they got in. And them winning, say Loyola Chicago winning, it's completely different than Michigan State winning the Big Ten tournament because they're kind of expected to win. Izzo in March, that's what we look forward to. We look forward to Izzo's teams playing the way that they are supposed to. My first time finding out about Izzo was, I think 2000 when Mateen Cleaves was there. I think it was Mateen Cleaves and Mo Peterson, I believe. I may have got his name wrong, but that's just kind of how when I first heard about Izzo, and then all my life, Izzo's just always doing big things in March. If you were able to give a pep talk to Evansville, I know that their season went down the drain this year, but let's say going into the tournament, the Arch Madness, if you were able to give them a pep talk and say, hey, I have been here, I've been in your shoes, I've played in this tournament, I know that things may not be going well now, but we want them to go well down the road in this game here. What kind of pep talk would you give them going into this conference tournament?
The biggest thing I think would just be yourself, man. I mean, you guys saw what you did in Kentucky, you know, and you see how much they're playing well right now. They're ranked in top 5 in the country right now, playing better than anybody in the NCAA. Just do what you do, you know, compete, play hard, you know, play together. I think you can't over-psych it, but they have good players too. I mean, you just got to go out there and take one game at a time.
Have you ever thought about making your own podcast? It seems like that's the in thing right now. Well, do I have the people for you? Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free and extremely easy to use. And now, Anchor will match with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you can get paid for podcasting right away. To get started, go to anchor.fm/start. Once again, that's anchor.fm/start. There's a program in Bloomington that, well, we hope they will make it one game at a time and get better one game at a time. But for some reason, this is not me knocking Archie. If you don't know what I'm talking about, those of you listening, Indiana University, Bob Knight recently came back after 20 years. Ever since Bob Knight left, yeah, Mike Davis had a good year or two. But ultimately, man, no one's been able to live up to Bob Knight, and I get it. Bob Knight left. He's a legend. He can do whatever he wants in Bloomington, really whatever he wants in this state. But nobody really no coach is able to live up to them. And it's not. I guess we knock Archie. Archie's philosophy is a little bit off and old and don't want to change with the times. But you got Tom Crean. You had Kelvin Sampson, who may have been the best basketball coach at the school, but because of his infractions, he got about the paint a little bit quicker than some people expected. When you view Indiana basketball, let's say the past 5, let's go back to the Zella year, Zella Oladipo when they lost in the Sweet 16 to Syracuse. How do you view IU, and how do they get it together?
So I'm a big Miami Hurricanes college football fan, and I think them and IU are on the same plateau right now in college sports. I feel like after 1 year, we think we're rising, and then we hit a major wall and fall down. I'm looking at the coaches right now. Of course, Kelvin Sampson, he had the issues. Actually, Dan Dockage was a coach for a few games in 2008 for 7 games. And then Tom Crean, I thought Tom Crean was a good coach here. I know he didn't win big as much as IU fans want to, but I thought he was a fiery coach. He got great players here. He had a good run a few years. And then Archie, I think Archie he's a very fiery guy. I think he cares. I think he wants to win. I just think his philosophy is wrong for today's game. That's just my biggest opinion on him. And I think if this was the 1990s, he would be a great coach. But today's game is spread you out. We're playing almost 4 guards, 1 big, and that's what wins today, is that type of ball. And I think IU is still stuck in that kind of 90s era of basketball right now.
And the crazy thing is, Archie could still be at Dayton with Obi Toppin, Jalen Crutcher, and those guys there that are just destroying everybody. Now, granted, you could say they're in the A-10, Jay. You don't know what you're talking about. You're exactly right. I may not. San Diego State's undefeated, and nobody talks about them because they're on the West Coast. I guarantee if San Diego State was on the East Coast or east of the Mississippi, hey, everybody will be talking about them. So, yeah, granted, I get it. They had a close loss to Kansas. Dayton did, and they lost another game close earlier in the season. But Archie could be at Dayton with those guys there, and I don't think he would have that success that I forget the new coach's name, that the new coach is having, just because he has a hard time adjusting on the fly. He goes into a game with the game plan. He goes into a game knowing what a rotation is going to be, and he just has a hard time adjusting to it. But it's not just Archie. I only mentioned Kelvin Sampson possibly being the best coach because wherever he goes, his teams have no problem getting wins. Now, granted, they don't go the deepest in the tournament every single year, but he has no problem getting wins week after week and year after year after year with whoever he's able to recruit. Yeah, the infractions were there. He was away from Indiana. IU fans don't like him. Don't come back to Bloomington. I get all that stuff. But, man, when it comes to IU, I text my mom. My mom went to IU. So I text her all the time. I say, Mom, your school lost. Or, Mom, this happened. Or even yesterday, I was helping them pack their house because they're moving. And the TV was on the IU game. I said, Mom, y'all just lost. She's like, oh, man, for real. And she's getting tired of hearing, like, people talk about them losing. But I don't believe it would have been just like this year. And you mentioned Miami. If you go back to when we were growing up, grade school, Miami was everything. You could mention Florida State. You could mention Florida. You could mention Nebraska back then. It didn't matter who you're talking about. Michigan. It didn't matter who you were talking about. Miami Hurricanes were everything. And it got annoying because I listened to you and Stevie talk about how y'all was winning. I mean, that's just how I'm not knocking it, but that's just how it was. And just as Miami started to fall, Miami's had decent coaches. Nobody great, but decent coaches. But over time, IU and Miami have lost recruits. And I'm not saying that the talent there is not good enough to win. I'm not saying that at all. But when you're losing big-time recruits to either your rival or schools that are literally across the country, there's a problem there with the program, and it's not all about the coach. It may just be about the type of players you're recruiting. And I seriously think you may agree with this or not. If you don't change the culture in the locker room and the culture of your program, there's no way for you to change and for you to be able to win at a high level all of the time. Is that something you agree with about how the culture really makes a lot about a winning culture or one winning program?
I agree 2,000% with that, 10,000%. Even like back when Sampson was here, I mean, just the the group of guys he had was probably not what the average IU fan was looking for, I would say. And I think Crean got the locker room back to where he wanted to be, where IU thinks it should be. And now just kind of, I don't know, I feel like I know kids care, but I just see no emotion on the court. From all five guys, just no emotion. Like, nobody gets mad, nobody gets any intensity. I'm not for sure if the type of kid they're recruiting, if they're, told to be subdued. I'm not for sure what the reason is, but I just feel like IU should be – they were the school when we were growing up. IU. You're from Indiana, you're going to IU if you're good. That's the spot. The Candy Stripes, Assembly Hall, that was it. And I feel like they can't get past the hump for some reason. And like you said, they're losing some elite recruits for sure, which would help. Now, I'll go back to my senior year. If they get Mike Conley, Greg Oden in that year, who knows where they'll be right now.
I thought they were going to go there. I don't know. You have more insight than me, but I thought they were going to go to IU.
Yeah, they had a real big thing for Thad Matta and House at the time. I know IU is pretty high up there, but they were pretty dead set going to Ohio State.
I can get that. He's a good coach. Yeah.
No, he's a great coach. Yeah.
One more IU thing, and then we'll get out of here really quick. When with IU, they get the players. Sometimes the players don't show emotion. I was watching yesterday. They played Illinois, and I want to say it was like 30 seconds left in the game. They were down. I think they were down. I don't know if they were down 2 or 3 at this point. I want to say they were down 3. And then Archie called timeout because the offense said that what he saw on the court, he wasn't. He was pretty upset with it just based off what they were doing. And I see, okay, I wasn't even trying to pay attention to the body language at the time. I'm just trying to look. I was really focused at Archie. But going from Archie to the players, Man, it was sad, and I say this for a reason. It was sad, the body language from all 5 players, because you said it. There's no fight. There's no emotion. It's like Archie's calling something, and no one really cares about what he's saying. They're not bought into this. And recently, I went to watch LN play Carmel, and I'm sitting next to a Northwestern assistant coach. Didn't know the guy. He was actually talking to somehow with a fan that he knew. Walked over there. They talked before the game, but the the Northwestern coach made a comment numerous times about how DJ Hughes, Shamar Avance, Tony Perkins, all those guys from LN, about how they're coachable. About no matter what Kiefer says to them, no matter what he yells at them, if he cusses them out on the court, no matter what goes on, if Kiefer gets on their case, these guys are coachable. And you could say it's about, and people get on younger people now, say, oh, young people don't listen, young people are ignorant, young people don't have any respect for older people. Well, I got an example of a college basketball coach talking about guys that are 16, 17, 18 years old being coachable from a coach in Indiana in the area that everybody knows he'll get on your case very, very quickly going to IU. And when Archie gets on your case in a different way than Kiefer does, but when Archie gets on your case, these guys don't care. They don't care at all. You sound like you mentioned, like you remembered that whole sequence there. What was your thought process, and what was you thinking when you saw just their body language? Because it wasn't just that game. This happened numerous games this year.
Yeah, actually, I think he was most mad, I think, at Al Darin. I think he was on the wrong play. I think it's what I remember seeing. But yeah, okay. I saw the same thing, man. I think all 5 heads just went down to the ground. And I don't know. I think the biggest thing is you can get on players if they believe in you. Like you said, LN, like Avance, Hughes, and Perkins, they believe in what a Kiefer is telling them. And I have a hard time believing IU players believe in what Archie's telling them right now. And whether that's his style or that's because they're not winning as they should be, I'm not for sure. But you can see it in their face that their confidence, their belief in each other is not there right now.
How do you fix it?
I mean, he's been there, this is his 3rd year this year. They haven't been to the tournament yet. I think, honestly, it's about who you're recruiting. I think it's about, how you interact with kids, whether that's on the court, off the court. I think winning is such a big part now in college. Kids want to go places where they can win, and right now IU isn't winning to what IU fans think that they should win at right now. Which, I mean, it's been a long time since they've won, but I just think right now it's just not where it should be.
Yeah, I think it's something that can change. Takes time. Takes literally. It may take Archie or whoever the next coach is going to be changing their thought process and realizing maybe I can't connect with today's individual, today's young man. I have to change how I'm approaching them so that we can all be on the same page to be successful together on the court and off the court. I got 9 quick questions for you real quick. I want you to give me the first thought that comes to your head whenever you hear this particular thought. Then we'll get you out. Then we'll end this thing very quickly. Man, this was fun. We made to do this again. First question here. First thought. Who is your favorite NBA player?
Of all time would be Carmelo and Chris Webber. Those are my 2 guys right there.
Chris Webber?
Yeah, he's my guy, man. I loved him at Michigan. And I was a big Kings fan, too, back in the day. So that was my guy.
Okay. Favorite a game that you watched that you'll remember forever?
A game. Wow. I would have to say, I don't know what this game is in my head for, but I would go Butler and Duke in the championship when it was in Indianapolis. And Butler lost by, I think it was 2 or 3. When Gordon Hayward missed that half-court shot, I forget what year that was.
I want to say 2010.
They went back-to-back
10-11. I think Kentucky won in 12.
Yeah.
Man, that's a shot that us, especially us being here in Indiana, we practice those half-court shots all the time. And I think they were down by, I think we were down by 2. I say we because I was rooting for them too, but they were down. Butler was down by 2, and man, I don't think people understand. If Butler hits that shot, everybody in Indiana goes crazy. You can't tell us nothing. Butler is a nobody. Nobody really cares about Butler, and then they're taking down one of the biggest giants in college basketball. Man, that would have been a fun moment.
Yeah, they might have burned the city down if you hit that shot.
What's your favorite vacation spot?
Ooh, good one. I would say probably somewhere in Florida. We've only probably Miami or Orlando. I went there with my daughter for her birthday this last year. Went to Disney World, so that was a great time with the family. I'll say somewhere in Florida for sure.
Okay, nice. A place you want to go but have never been.
You know, I've never been to California. All places in the world, I've been almost every state in the U.S. except California. I've been wanting to go for a while.
It's a great place to go during Christmas time because we get cold weather. It's snowy, but you go out there to Cali, especially. Let's just say that somehow, some way, Miami. And I know it's possible, but Miami plays in the Rose Bowl. I know they don't normally play it because of ACC ties, but let's say that with the way the college football is now, they find a way to play out there in Pasadena at Christmas time. Bro, you gotta go. you gotta go. You'll love it.
Oh, if that happens, I'm definitely going. Don't worry about that.
I should have known that was coming.
Yeah, that's a definite right there.
Who is the better basketball player, Michael Jordan or LeBron James?
Wow. They put me in a spot right now. I would say Jordan. I just think just his killer, his mentality. I mean, LeBron's game speaks for itself. He can do it all. I just think Jordan had a different level than anybody else does.
Did you see that story that they put together with J.R. Ryder and KG talking about the same story?
Yeah, I listened to the podcast with I'm drawing a blank on whose podcast it was. It was on there to listen to it one day. Or Matt Barnes and I'm gonna on the podcast. Oh, yeah, I heard that story there. Yeah, yes.
Okay. Yeah, dude, that story, like MJ stories, I don't care who you pick to be your who you think is better. But MJ stories about all the players, about how literally every player that played against Jordan, you know, if you talk trash like KG or you talk trash like Gary Payton, everybody has a Michael Jordan story where Mike basically made you shut up. And his stories are literally the best if told by the right person. A job in sports you'd love to have.
Ooh. I would say I would like to have a debate show, like First Take.
Okay. I think you'd be good at that.
Yeah, I've always been one of my goals to have a show like that.
A game you would love to attend.
Any sport or?
Any sport.
I will probably have to say the Super Bowl. Just either that or the Rose Bowl too. I always want to go to the Rose Bowl. That's two answers, but those are my top two.
No, you're good. Who will win the NCAA tournament?
You know, I'm going on a slight limb here. I'm going with Dayton. I'm a big Oakley Toppin fan. I love their team. I think they can do it.
I won't say that that's who I'm picking, but I'm really, 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 really close to hopping on that one right there with you, man, because those boys are good.
They are good, man. They have a great team. It's not just team. They have their team is just full of dudes who can play.
Yeah, dudes that can play. They bought in and they play well together every night. It's a beautiful thing to watch, man.
Yes, it is.
Last one. Give me something a positive thing that you think about when you think about Kobe Bryant.
A positive thing. I think just the biggest thing that I've seen the last, few weeks is just the impact he had on all kinds of people around the world, though. Whether it's players, whether it's soccer players, whether it's mothers, it's dads with kids. I just think he had such impact on the world that I've seen over whether it's I've seen on Twitter, I've seen on ESPN. I just think he had a positive impact on everybody, and I just know it's going to be missed. And it still seems a little unreal to me right now, but it's just sad.
Yeah, man. It's sad that he's gone. Totally unexpected, but the positive impact that he's had on so many people that have never met him, never seen him face to face, numerous people that never saw him play a basketball game in their lives because they're not even basketball fans. I've never known a person in my lifetime that I've watched or I've heard about that has had such an impact on people in. I would go on a limb and say every single country like Kobe Bryant has, man. It's something special. It truly is something special. Darin, I appreciate you coming on, taking time out of your day. I know it's later in the day than normal, but I appreciate you taking time out of your day to join me on this episode of the podcast, man.
No, man, thanks for having me. It was great, and I appreciate it. Having me on again anytime you want to, and we can do it.
And that's all she wrote. Once again, I want to thank Darin for coming on, taking time out of his busy day to join me to talk about his playing days, basketball, things that him and I both love. He's a very good follow on Twitter as well. If you follow me on Twitter, I will tag him in the tweet when I send out with a link to the actual show announcing that a new episode is out. Be sure to follow him if you want to. I will warn you, die hard. And when I say die hard, I mean definite die hard Miami Hurricanes football fan. Yes, it's spring football season. It's spring football time. Yeah, a lot of people don't freak out. Don't go crazy right now about football because it's March. I mean, there's no reason to really freak out about things, but when you get diehard fans this time of year, oh man, they're all in. Spring practice, what's going on, what's the depth chart looking like, who's progressing, who's getting better. And Darin is that guy. If you like the Miami Hurricanes, be sure to give him a good follow. You will not be disappointed. And trust me, we're going to have more people come on the podcast like I mentioned. And I didn't realize when I started the podcast that there are people that I know on a regular, that I talk to or communicate with either via social media or that I've come in contact with either via school, high school, college, people I've worked with that would be able to be great guests on the podcast. And I challenge you, or I encourage you, if you're doing something, starting your own business, or you host your own podcast, look to the people that you know, even in your family. There are people there that can either be great guests on your podcast or your show, or that may be able to help you in whatever you're doing to enhance that subject. So no matter what it is, and this is something that just was put into my head because one of my buddies asked to be on the podcast early on. I was like, hey, sure, why not? This is fun. Sports are fun. And some of the best conversations we have about sports are not those at the bar with people that we just meet, or not those at the barbershop, people we see maybe once or twice a month. But they're with the people that we know on a personal basis, or we talk to on a regular basis, because ultimately I can push your buttons and they can push mine, and we go back and forth in a friendly manner to have a great conversation or fun conversation, enjoyable. Sometimes people get heated, but that's what makes sports fun to watch and sports fun to talk about. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Jay Stevens Podcast. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. And if you follow me, you find me on Twitter, feel free to send me a message. I would love to communicate with you and to know that you listen to the show and that you're a listener of the Jay Stevens Podcast. Remember to always subscribe, rate, and review. It's a great way for people that are searching for new podcasts to listen to come across this one. Then remember to always get the word out about the podcast via word of mouth. The things that we enjoy in life, we are more willing and somewhat wired to tell other people about. So no matter if this was your first episode or if you have been listening since episode 1, be sure to let people know about the podcast. This has been episode 72 of the Jay Stevens Podcast. I'll see you next time.